happens if one of your key employees isn't there tomorrow? How do you make sure that you protect your business so that they can make sure you that you have the funds to continue and maybe pay off some of the debts or make sure you can retain those customers and that kind of a thing. Another key area is just retaining those key people. Right now the unemployment rate isn't as low as it had been in the past, but when it comes down to it, business owners are having a really hard time hiring people. And when you think about the people that are critical to your success, many times business owners want to offer maybe an additional benefit that can kind of handcuff or tie that employee to the business so that they don't want to leave, that it's a golden handcuff is what we call it. It's golden because it's a wonderful benefit that you're promising if they stick around for a little while, and make sure that they've fulfilled the service requirements that you're looking for. And then the third key area of planning that we get into with a lot of business owners right now is just planning for yourselves, your retirement, your wealth transfer. Most business owners say my retirement is my business, or my business is my retirement rather. And that's very common that you plan on either selling your business or continuing to pull revenue off at retirement. But it's hard to make plans beyond that because you've got to pull that into your entire planning process. And so those areas, planning for the business, planning for your key employees, and planning for yourself are the three key areas that we focus on. But we do a lot of business owner surveys, and we recently completed one in 2020. It's a survey that we've done every 2 years for about 12 years now. And I honestly didn't think they would do it in 2020 because it was just such an awkward year. And you wondered if the results would be very skewed or different. But it turns out they were somewhat similar, but there were also some new and interesting things that came out of it. So in this survey, we go out to about 1,000 business owners that are not current principal clients, and we ask them to rank 10 financial priorities. Everything from qualified plans to group benefits to business succession, just everything you can think of as far as protecting your business or planning for your business. And the number one issue was the same thing that's been the number one issue for the last 8 to 10 years. And that is protecting my business against the loss of a key person. That is the key thing that business owners are concerned about. And we'll talk a little bit more about key person and what all that means. But that was the number one issue. And, number two was qualified retirement plans. Number three was disability income. But the number four thing, which last time we did this survey was the number 8 thing, and the time before that it was the number 10 thing, was business succession planning. So it has just shot up the list as far as the importance of making sure that the planning has been done so that the business will continue no matter what happens.
Thank you, Michelle. You brought up some really, really good points there to think about. It reminds me, we work with an advisor who has great passion with business owners, and that's partially because his dad owned a welding shop. And that was, when you mentioned that was their retirement, that was his retirement plan, was his business. And unfortunately, Dad died of a heart attack instantly at age 35. And that was the only income that was coming into the family. And there was no insurance or anything in place. So Mom all of a sudden had to go to work. I think the kids got pulled from their school because they couldn't, I'm not even sure they could live in the house that they were living in. But the point being, everybody in their own business has certain things that's important to them, whether it's retirement planning or whatever it might be. Maybe they want the business to stay within the family, which brings up the whole succession planning question. Again, I think all of us get to the point where we're working very hard, trying to grow our business, and all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're staring at what's the next step look like? Who's going to take over this business? Who's going to take care of my clients? Do you have anybody in your office that's even capable or qualified to do that, or in your family, or whatever it is? And how are you going to make sure that that's funded? So Michelle, you had mentioned succession planning had moved up to number 4 as a concern in the survey with the clients. So what are you finding? Do a lot of business owners have some kind of agreement or something in place with no tool to maybe fund that, or what are you seeing?
Great question. And, it's almost a half and half type of thing. So about 50% of the business owners have something as far as a business succession plan in writing. But some of them, what they have is just maybe a paragraph in their operating agreement that refers to business succession planning. It doesn't really go into the detail that it probably should. Generally, a buy-sell plan or business succession is its own plan, its own document. And a lot of people think of, if I have a buy-sell plan, it's really going to say, this is what happens to my business if I were to pass away. And certainly that's one of the things that's covered in a business succession plan, but done correctly, it is kind of a roadmap or a living will, I guess, for your business, because you want your business to live on, and it kind of states what happens no matter what happens. So some of the things that are included are, death, disability, divorce. We're seeing a lot more people build divorce wording into their buy-sell agreement. And basically what that entails is, if you and I are partners, we say, if there is a divorce, our spouses agree to sell back their shares, and they agree upon the price that we have in the buy-sell agreement, and they sign off on it. So it just protects everyone in case there is a divorce. But it's not something that's normally built into a lot of buy-sell agreements that we review. So it's things like that that can really protect the business no matter what happens. We've seen some business owners where one of the partners has a bankruptcy, and that can really impact the future of the other partners and the business as a whole. So just having wording in that agreement that could dictate what would happen in that scenario can save a lot of angst. The great thing about the buy-sell plan is when you put one together, you're putting it together when emotions are level. For you, for all your partners, no one has an issue that they're necessarily dealing with at that particular time. So you agree upon things, and it's a fair agreement. It's just so much nicer to put those things together versus when you're going through a divorce or when something has happened, to one of the partners. You want to make sure you're doing it at a time when everyone is thinking clearly. But about half of the people have buy-sell agreements, and then half don't have any type of buy-sell agreement. We'll talk about the ones that have one first, because a lot of times for business owners, it's one of those things that you do and you're kind of like, whew, got that done. I'm going to put it in the drawer and check it off my list. And it's a great relief to get it done, but it's kind of like any other planning that you do, in that it should be reviewed every few years to make sure that it still has all of the provisions in it that you're looking for, and that things haven't changed. I mean, we've reviewed agreements where they have people listed in the buy-sell agreement who have passed, and they have new partners that have been brought on that aren't reflected in the agreement. And so you want to make sure that you keep it current based on the current situation. So that's a key thing that we find, is that when you have a buy-sell agreement, make sure you do get it updated and reviewed every few years, because you want to make sure that it does match what you're trying to do. We reviewed one buy-sell agreement where the business was worth about $500,000, about a $500,000 business, and the attorney had drawn up a buy-sell agreement and put in that the business was worth $500,000, and there were 500 shares, each valued at $500,000. So the attorney had just really inflated the value of that business pretty significantly. So he meant to put $500, right? But he put $500,000. So it happens, even though people had read that, they read what they thought they were reading, so they kind of read into it. And those things can happen very easily, where there could be something in the buy-sell agreement that shouldn't be there, or there could be things missing. We see a lot of situations where there's a value written into the buy-sell agreement, and that value could be incredibly off as far as what the business is actually worth. We offer some services to people who want to do this type of planning. And one of them is a review of their buy-sell agreement. So we have attorneys in our advanced solutions area and at Principal that will read your buy-sell agreement and put together a summary that says this is what the plan says. And then here are maybe some gaps or some things that you might want to think about either adding to the agreement or updating based on your current situation. And that has been tremendously helpful to many, many business owners in helping them get the plans put together that they need to have. Now, one of the parts of doing a buy-sell agreement is making sure that you know what the value of your business is, because that's a big part of the buy-sell agreement is what value do you have represented in the agreement? And then to your point, Debbie, have you funded for that potential issue that could happen? And so the second service that we offer is a complimentary business valuation, again, for businesses wanting to do this type of planning. And what our advanced solutions team does is take a look at really 3 years of your financial information, and they'll put together a buy-sell agreement or a business valuation rather. And we use 5 different methodologies to complete this valuation. And we're going to point out the one that is most appropriate for the business type that your business is, the industry that you're in. And then we'll talk about some of the planning issues that you may want to look at to protect that value and to do some of the other planning that you might be interested in. Together, these services, the complimentary business valuation and the complimentary buy-sell review, have been instrumental in helping so many business owners do the planning that they need to do. I worked on one case, and it was from Missouri. It was a construction firm, and it was 2 siblings. They had done a buy-sell plan about a little around 10 years ago, and they had the business valued at that time, and it was about $10 or $12 million at the time. And so they had gotten an offer recently for $15 million for their business. They thought, we aren't really interested in selling. We don't really want to sell, but we should just find out, is this even in the realm of what our business is worth? So we valued their business. It was worth $38 million. So thankfully they hadn't accepted that $15 million value, that offer, but then that opened up a lot of additional issues and questions as far as making sure they had done the appropriate planning. So we were able to help them through that, both with updating their buy-sell agreement, but making sure they had the funding necessary, and that they had done the personal planning that kind of goes along with that.
I think we see a lot of those stories right there. Most of the ones I think we work on, people were pretty good about putting some type of buy-sell agreement together. But one, it was many, many years ago when their business wasn't flourishing like it is today. But 2, they have no idea. Everybody's got their heads down trying to grow their business. And all of a sudden they wake up one day, they have no idea what their business is really worth.
Right.
You don't have the funding mechanism in place to fund that buy-sell. It doesn't really do any good, because you have to be able to pay off, the other owner. So yeah, Michelle kind of went around circle with your whole platform with Principal and what they do, but it's called BOWS. It's Business Owner Executive Solutions. But what it does, it provides really, like she said earlier, it provides a roadmap for us, because there's so many things that you guys are dealing with your businesses, and everybody's different, and some people have a ton of things that they need to cover, and maybe somebody just has 1 or 2 things that they need to cover. But how do you address all those things? What's important to you? And their whole platform, the BOWS platform, it really lays it out nicely, because you answer questions, and Michelle will go over kind of the details with that. There's just so many things that you guys cover, Michelle. I don't know if you want to go over that, or if you want to kind of get into what it looks like to even enter into the whole conversation with BOWS.
Sure. Well, some of the common questions that we get, I gave an example of a business. It happened to be worth a lot. We work with businesses of all sizes. I think that's one of the key questions that we get on the Bose platform. Are you really only looking for those businesses that are worth over 10 million? And the answer is absolutely not. Principal has been working in the business market for years, and we provide through the Bose platform, or our business platform, solutions for all those needs that we kind of laid out before, for the business, for the key people, for the owners themselves. And then we provide support before, during, and after the sale on all of those. So we want to make sure that we're helping you, one, figure out what's most important to you. We just talked for 10 minutes and probably outlined a ton of different things that might be important to your business. And as Debbie said, for one business owner, business succession planning might be the most important. For another, it might be retaining this one key employee that you have, that you're just afraid that the competition is going to come in and swoop them up. So whatever is most important to you is what we want to focus on. And we would be glad to work with you on that. And we'll help throughout that whole sales process. So before the sale, we offer some tools, kind of like the business valuation and buy-sell review are two very key tools that we offer that have been very helpful with helping business owners get started. But then throughout the process, we'll be involved, and we can provide sample agreements to help your attorneys put together the right types of plans for you. We'll make sure that you have the right solutions in place. And then after the sale, we'll provide the administration to make sure that the plan stays on track for what you want to accomplish. So we won't just, put some things in place and then say, you'll have to monitor it yourself. We have people in our administration area that'll send annual statements, and they're there if you have any questions, and just remind you what you have and why you have it, and help you through any transitions or questions that you might have. So it's a complete platform. And one of the questions that we often then get is, well, if I wanted to look at doing something, how would I move forward? And I would reach out. I think Debbie will probably give you her contact information, or it'll be provided after the call. But reach out to Debbie and her team, because they can provide some of those basic talking points or questions that you might consider. And then you can kind of walk through it and say, this is what's most important to me today. And we can get on a call and talk about it. And then we could put together a valuation or a buy-sell review if that's what's key to your business. Or we'll go down whatever path that you'd like to go down. But we definitely want to make sure that we're providing, support throughout the process.
Yeah, I think Michelle, thank you. I think it's important to note too, that the whole process, there's a few questions up front, and then a lot of times we get like 3 years of tax returns, and then there might be some other questions beyond that. But another question that we get on our end a lot is, well, how can Principal do this for free? I mean, it doesn't make sense. If you guys have ever had your business valuated before, that can cost anywhere from $6,000 to $15,000, depending upon how big your business is. It's not free. Principal pays several CPAs and pays several attorneys to evaluate and valuate buy-sells and businesses. So, they're paying for that, but they hope that they're going to uncover needs that we can provide insurance, buy-sell agreements, things like that to put in place. But it is literally free to go through the process, which is unbelievable, because it's not IRS certified valuation, but it is darn close. So it really gives you a great idea about how much your business is really worth. So it's worth really taking yourselves through it. If you haven't done that, I would suggest you do it, but we're probably going to uncover some vulnerability. I can't say that word very well. Vulnerabilities that's going to be exposed to you and your business. Michelle, I kind of like to dive a little bit deeper about key person and just talk about what key person really is and what it can do. Do you want to take a couple minutes and talk about that? I know we're coming up almost on a half hour here, but maybe a few minutes to talk about that, because that is one of the key. Key person is one of the key items that I know is is
Yes.
important to most businesses.
Well, and it continues to rank as the #1 issue. And it's, really it's protecting the business against the loss of a key person. And a loss can happen really in 3 different ways. I hate to talk about this, but your key person could pass away, they could become disabled, or they could decide to leave. The competition could come in and swoop them up, or they could decide to start a competing business, which is almost worse. So it's all about protecting the business against any one of those 3 items. So for death or disability, there is insurance that the business can own. And if the key person were to pass away or become disabled, that benefit is paid directly to the business. And it's there to help the business with any costs they might have. So if the person needs to be replaced, you'll have your recruiting and a training time. Sometimes when you lose a key person, banks might call in debt. And so it'll give you the ability to cover that debt. Or you might have some lost relationships, or you might have to work really hard to keep some customers if you lose a key employee. So it gives you just that buffer, that cushion to really help make sure the business can get through that tough transition. The other situation that could happen is that key person could leave. And that one, there isn't a direct insurance to benefit the business, but there is what we call the golden handcuffs or the retention plans. And really, it could be a plan where I could say, Debbie, you're incredibly valuable to this business. And I want to make sure that you know that, and I want to help you, supplement your retirement. So if you stay with me for 10 years, I will give you $200,000 or whatever the amount is I think I need to get you to want to stay an additional 10 years on top of everything else. But it's a service requirement that you need to meet in order to get that 200,000, 500,000, whatever that amount is. And if you leave, you could lose some or all of that benefit. So it's just a great way to, one, you let the key people know they're very important to the business, and 2, they're going to think twice before they leave because they know they're walking away from some benefit. So it really is, this key person planning is protecting the business for all of those reasons. And the other thing I'll mention is, we talk to a lot of business owners that are single business owners, and they don't really have maybe a family member to pass the business to or that's interested, but they have a key person that might be interested. And we do a lot of planning where we tie this retention plan into a possible succession plan so that key person could then buy out the business owner at some point as well. So it can actually accomplish double duty in a lot of situations. So there are solutions for things that a lot of business owners are like, if I'm not here, my business just isn't going to continue. And that unfortunately is true for a few businesses, but many have options. So we definitely can help you work through that and determine, are there some alternatives that you could put into place that would allow your business to continue through a key person or something along that line.
That's awesome. Appreciate that. It definitely is something that most businesses just tend to overlook and keep doing their day-to-day operations. So I hope that if any of you are in the financial business along with us, please reach out to us and we'll help you with some of your clients. The rest of you who are actually clients, if you're interested in hearing more about this, reach out to me and we'll help you get some of this figured out, or just have a conversation. That's all we really need to do. So if you need to call me, my number is 515-822-4541. My email is on my screen as my name. So it's first initial, last name. So it's Hannam, DHANNAM @bchlife.com. And we'll make sure that we get you taken care of. Is there anybody that has any questions with all the good things that Michelle had to share with us today? No? What's for lunch?
You guys was really a lot of stuff I hadn't myself thought much about. You know, do you work with people who are, a lot of this has to do maybe with, well, not a lot of it, but sole proprietors or people who are single owners. Do you work with them much, or is this mostly folks that have employees?
No, go ahead, Michelle.
You know, some of the things would be applicable across the board. The valuation is something that we need to be able to differentiate business from individuals. So sometimes we can do the valuation, sometimes we cannot. If you're if you're just a sole proprietor, because you know, you have to have some definition between the two, but there definitely are planning needs, regardless of whether we can do the valuation or not. There would be planning needs and opportunities to just talk about, you know, would my business continue, and how could it continue if we wanted to put some plans in place. So there are generally great opportunities or great needs there. We just need to figure out, you know, what services would be available.
Right. And so like for the buy sell plan, for example, if that's your whole plan when you get, you know, towards retirement, is to just sell what you have, and then you would be able to walk through that with whether you had employees or not.
Right.
Okay, cool.
I think it's also worth noting when Michelle said earlier that when we provide this information and it goes to their CPA and their attorney teams for review and everything, you're not just left out on an island. They will get on the phone with the consumer's CPA and the consumer's attorney, if need be. If that's what the consumer wants to have done, they'll do that. I think that's really important to note, because again, that's all free. I hate to use the word free, but there's no fee, hidden fee, or cost to any of that. How powerful is that to be able to have attorneys and CPAs at the principals level and the clients' CPAs and attorneys to be able to talk to each other. That way questions can be asked, and you know, sometimes they may or may not understand why their business was valuated high or maybe even valuated low. So it's a good time to get those things out on the table. Anybody else have any other questions?
One thing I will toss out there just to, you know, we can do the valuation on many types of businesses as far as the entities and that kind of a thing. A couple things to note is, you know, sole proprietors are hard unless you have a separate balance sheet and a profit and loss statement. But there are a couple of other businesses, you know, they do have to be in business for 3 full years in order to be able to do the valuation, because we need 3 years of information to be able to put that together. And we are looking for top line revenue of about $1 million and positive net. But you know, a lot of that fits a lot of businesses in today's world. So then, as Debbie said, it's an easy process. 3 years financials, usually tax returns are what we get, and a very quick informational sheet. So it's a pretty easy process.